what's your emergency?
Welcome back to That Weewoo Show, a podcast where we watch and discuss episodes of the ABC show 911. I'm Bex.
I'm Alice.
And I'm Ellen.
Thank you to everyone who has been listening to our episodes and who have shared our social media posts, rated us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your podcatcher of choice. We really do appreciate it. This week's shout-outs go to Dee on Spotify, who informed us that, yes, at least in New England, middle school students do start rotating their classes. And Ginger, who left a comment on the Taking of Dispatch 911 episode to educate us on the logic behind LA's ridiculously long street numbers. So thank you to Dee and Ginger for educating the Australians about the inner workings of the US. We appreciate you.
I think Ginger's actually in the UK. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ginger, you will, I'm sure. But had looked it up after watching a different show.
I don't particularly care where the people are from as long as I'm getting edumacated about stuff.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for letting us know about it.
We love all our Northern Hemispherians and some of the Southern Hemispherians, I guess.
All of them too.
So before we get into this week's episode, which is episode 16, Alice, could you give us a refresher about what happened in episode 15?
So last week on 911, Eddie was buried alive while rescuing a child from a well, and we dove into his life before moving to LA and the origin of his silver star. Hey guys, did you know Eddie has a silver star?
And he's never done anything illegal.
So we're told.
Nothing illegal.
Okay.
One day that will make sense to you, Ellen, we promise.
Yeah.
In like 2 years, Ellen's going to be like, oh my God, and be the Leo DiCaprio meme where he's pointing at the TV.
It's like, that's why they kept saying it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the past, in this episode, we're up to season 3, episode 16, which is called The One That Got Away. This one first aired in April 27th, 2020, which in fact is today as we're recording, 5 years ago today.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Look at us being up to date again.
A little bit of synchronicity going on there.
Up to date, but 5 years previous. So the summary for this episode says, the 118 fights an apartment building blaze and attempts a daring rescue of a woman. In the summary it says blind, but she's actually deaf. Whoops. I'm not sure why they would have changed that, like after. Anyway, we can talk about that later when we get to that part. They attempt a daring rescue of a deaf woman trapped inside. When Athena responds to a simple accident call, she discovers a potentially more sinister crime. Meanwhile, Hen performs a risky medical procedure after an accident at a televised cooking show, and Buck meets a retired firefighter and is inspired to reunite him with his lost love. Whew, that's quite a mouthful, that summary. There's a lot going on in this episode.
Yes.
So triggers include, for this episode, an apartment building fire. I think we worked out last week that these were all out of order. And I'm not going to try and put them in order on the fly because I can't do that. So cancer, a character with dementia, a deaf woman at threat, home invasion, medical gore involving a lot of blood, a minor character death, and a patient death due to medical error, which is not shown on screen but still happens. And we have sexual violence or in the form of rape.
So you know that feeling when you're like just minding your own business and you're like, pretty sure I've forgotten something. You're like, oh, if it was important, I'd remember. It's fine. And then you sit down 20 minutes before recording the episode of the podcast for that week and realize you haven't watched the episode. I don't relate to that at all. That totally did not happen tonight. No idea what.
I'm sure
it will all come back to you.
At least it was you, Alice. It would be much, much worse if it had been Ellen, who has never seen the series before.
I've seen this episode a total of one time.
You and I kind of have like vague memories that we can fall back on in a pinch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ellen does not have that.
Right. Well, let's get going and then we'll see how much of it comes back to you in the... You probably saw this very beginning bit. We have an apartment building that is on fire, and this opening scene is extremely chaotic.
Yeah,
actually.
and we arrive right in the middle of it. There's
Yeah.
no lead up, there's no 911 call. The episode opens and the building is ablaze and there are multiple units responding, trying to put out the fire.
There are
and the
lots of
118
trucks there. They've got their ladders up. There's people with their hoses out. Everything's happening.
People with their hoses out.
Oh, dirty.
I was very excited to see them actually fighting a fire again because I don't even remember the last episode they went near a fire.
Yeah, that's true. It's been all there's been a lot of medical emergencies, but like it's been all character drama lately rather than actual. There hasn't been a lot of like firefighting going on, right?
No.
I seem to remember seeing a tweet or a post something somewhere that that's rather realistic though for firefighters. Most of their
they don't
call-outs
do many
are
fires.
medical emergencies and things like that. Fires are
Car
the
crashes.
exception rather than the rule.
Yeah.
Which is ironic considering they are firefighters, but anyway. The 118 are inside the building searching for residents to evacuate them. Well, Bobby, Eddie, and Buck are inside. I'm assuming Hen and Shimmer, I think, inside as well, but we don't see them at this point.
It's pretty scary. They're like knocking on doors and yelling for people and then hacking apart doors that they can't, that are locked and they can't open.
Which is probably a good thing because when Buck gets to a door that he literally needs to kick in, oh no, he doesn't kick it, he uses his axe. Of course he does. King of property destruction. They find an elderly man in the bathroom on the floor.
Yeah, he's got blood all underneath him, but he's awake. Like, when they ask him, are you hurt? He says, I don't know, I can't get up.
It's very Monty Python. I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah.
But much more serious.
But, yes, he does have blood all over him, so, you know.
So, Bobby and Eddie are working to get the man stable so that they can transport him. The man, his name is Anton, is more worried about Gladys. But unfortunately, he passes out before he can tell anybody who Gladys is. So Eddie makes the assumption that it might be a cat or a dog, and so Buck is sent on the search of the almost completely engulfed apartment for a cat or a dog.
And then they get the call over the radio that the building is unstable, so everyone has to get out. So
Yes.
Bobby says, like, let's go, let's get him downstairs. He says to Buck, who's still searching around the apartment, let's
Buck's
go,
still
let's
looking
go.
for the cat and calling for the cat.
And Buck's like, he actually finds a cat and grabs it and they get out of there.
And we cut to dispatch, where Maddie gets a 911 call, but it's not an ordinary 911 call. It is a TTY call, which is a teletypewriter, which is used by deaf and hard of hearing people to make telephone calls. And the caller tells Maddie that they are trapped in a fire, which turns out to be the exact same location that the 118 are already at.
Yeah, so we can assume this is Gladys. I mean, I didn't realise that this was Gladys until later when they get reunited. I mean, I should have worked it out from the fact that it was right after the guy had been calling for Gladys, but...
I worked out when, like, in the next scene, when he's like, that's not Gladys, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I think it was slightly confusing in that I do not think that Gladys and Anton were in the same room. So you could be forgiven for thinking that they were like two completely separate incidents.
Yeah.
And not that...
It's definitely like a good misdirect.
Yes.
Yeah, so while Gladys is typing in her address into the thing, they cut the sound out. So you're basically hearing, nothing, which is amazing. Really very effective.
It is very effective. They do that a few times when we're seeing things from Gladys's point of view.
And then we, get back down to the front door. So we know that 579 Atwater is the address that she's put in. And then we see that actual address written on the front of the building.
So they get Anton to the paramedics. Buck reunites him with Gladys. And Anton is like, that's Hoover. I'm so glad you found Hoover, but that's not Gladys. And at that very moment, Bobby gets a call from Maddie over the radio that she has a deaf woman trapped in an apartment, and everybody looks up to see glass falling out the window as Gladys has thrown something at the window to smash it, and Buck is the one who puts two and two together and says, oh, that's Gladys. I don't know that breaking the glass was necessarily the best idea, though.
I mean, I think it's to show which apartment it is.
Oh,
like,
no,
often...
I 100% agree that it's like for the dramatic effect. It's also so that they could see. It's just that smashing the window creates like oxygen coming into the room, which would feed fire.
Which can feed the
makes
fire,
the fire bigger.
Yeah.
But what window did she break? Because Buck smashes through the window later.
Yeah, I think there's two windows.
Why wasn't she near the open one?
I don't know. For dramatic effect, so that Buck can smash it. It's for the drama. Remember, everything's for the drama. So at the reveal that the deaf woman up on the 10th floor is Gladys, we go to the title card. When we come back, we're still at 579 Atwater, and they have a slight problem in that the ladders don't reach up to the 10th floor, and the firefighters can't go up the stairs inside the building to get to her either.
Yep.
But the building next door's not on fire, and the rappelling kit has 150 feet of rope.
Buck's got the thinking cap on today.
I love this though. Like, Eddie's just like, you want to do a rope rescue? Of course you do.
Of course you do.
Of course you do.
But it's even better because like he's throwing up his hands going like, of course you do, you ridiculous person. And Bobby's just looking at him going, well, he's not going to do it alone.
Someone's got to help him out.
You got to go do it too. And Eddie's face has just gone from like, oh, that is such a what? You want me to what?
Fucking Buck, what an idiot. What do you mean I'm going to?
They're going to tell Gladys. He goes, please inform the resident that we will be descending from the roof through her window. And Gladys is just curled up on the floor. She's like...
She is not paying any attention to her machine.
Not dealing. No.
I don't know if the machine is still functional at this point, but
she looks so terrified.
Maddie is not telling her anything. So while Gladys is curled up in a corner panicking, Hen is trying to treat Anton. And she discovers that aside from the injuries he sustained in the fire and whatever happened to him in the bathroom, he is like sick for another reason. And she must have the magic helmet that allows you to diagnose things on the fly, because after hearing that he has some abdominal tenderness, he's been nauseous for days, he's been urinating a lot, and he's been chugging antacids for quite a while, she says that he's got an undiagnosed thyroid condition that has caused an excess of calcium in his blood.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how?
Yeah, okay. If you say so.
Where in paramedic school would they teach you that?
The underdiagnosed thyroid condition section, obviously. Look, honestly, I've been watching a lot of House lately. I'm pretty sure Hen just also watches House. Surprised she didn't. But she wasn't like, oh, feels like lupus.
Anton doesn't care about any thyroid conditions. He just wants to know that they're going to get Gladys. And Hen tells him not to worry, that they've got their best boys on it. And then we cut to the best boys. Who have sped run up to the top of the building next to 579 Atwater, and then parkour their way over.
Yeah.
And I'm once again amazed at how close they build buildings.
Yeah.
Because I'm not discounting that was like the feats of athleticism required to jump from one building to another, but the fact that they were able to do that and there wasn't any of this like teetering on the edge because the jump was just that little bit too far, those buildings must be hella close.
Yeah, right? It's crazy. Like, the jump was so CGI, though.
No. Let me live in the delusion that Ryan and Oliver actually got to do, like, maybe not jumping across actual buildings, but they set up styrofoam blocks on a green screen.
Yeah, they might have had a
jump
set
from a styrofoam block to another.
It looked like a real jump. I mean, I only watched it one time, so maybe. But...
Look, if they let them ride on top of an actual fire truck, surely they'd let them jump from one styrofoam block to another.
Oh, I'm sure they jumped on something, yeah. But,
no.
It definitely wasn't super far up.
Oh, no insurance company.
Unlikely to be the actual buildings.
These two actors, we're going to take them up to the top of two buildings and we're going to make them, like, multiple times jump from one building to the next. Yeah, no. No.
But yes, Eddie starts to lower Buck down because he's got they're hooked up to each other so that he can lower him down, kind of thing. And everyone else is watching from the ground with their phones in the air because, of course, you do.
Yes.
And then, like, Buck sort of drops to the 10th floor and looks in the window, and Gladys is about to smash the window with a chair. Like, she notices him, thankfully, and, like, jumps backwards.
Doesn't
kind
just
of
throw
thing.
a chair at Buck.
So that could have been unfortunate.
It's very dramatic because he is abseiling down and then he uses his feet to push back off the building to gain momentum. And you can hear the crowd, like, gasp underneath. Like, oh my god, he's swinging out. Why is he swinging out? Is everything okay?
It's the maneuver.
But no, it's just to build up speed so he can complete the maneuver. I do love that, like, Bobby is watching just because he needs to make sure Buck's okay. Chim is just watching and, like, nodding approvingly. Like, sir, you have never been allowed to do the maneuver. How would you know if he's doing it correctly or not? But then we get when Buck crashes through the apartment, we get the second section where there is no audio. We get it all from Gladys's point of view.
Yeah, he says something to her and, she's watching his mouth move, so hopefully she understands what's happening. But he does also point to the harness that he has in his hand, so she gets the drift.
I got the feeling that she gets the drift as he sort of points at himself and points at her and points at the harness, and she's like, oh, okay, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
But it works. She gets up, she comes over to Buck, he literally straps it to his chest. They climb out the window and Eddie starts lowering them down.
Yeah, Eddie's still standing on the top roof of this building that's on fire. It's like, dude.
Well, not for much longer. Behind him, the roof collapses.
The roof literally vanishes and he's just like, Cap, the roof's gone.
And so Eddie has to leave the same way he arrived. He secures Buck, makes sure that Buck's got control of the ropes, and then jumps his way back across to the other building.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, though, because Bobby yells out to two firefighters to secure the airbag, and it's Mitchell and Sanchez. And I didn't think that Sanchez was a member of the 118, but apparently he is.
Maybe he transferred.
Who's Sanchez? Have we seen him before, or is this from...
I was about to say, I'm just going to open up my my little tracker of all the 118 members. Which
so Sanchez...
You're so organised, man. It's great.
Sanchez is in season 8.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't think he was in it until then.
What's this tracker? Oh no, that's all of the vehicles destroyed by the 118. That's not the tracker I want.
Wrong tracker.
There is another... Anyway, yes, so Mitchell and Sanchez are getting the airbag deployed, just in case. Okay, I get to add more firefighters, because we have never met Mitchell or Sanchez before, so there we go.
Okay, cool, so we haven't met Sanchez. I'm not crazy.
No.
I don't remember Sanchez, so no. But that doesn't mean anything, because I never remember any of the people that we only see one time.
I literally only remember Sanchez because they're in season 8. I don't remember Mitchell, but I definitely remember Sanchez.
Well, anyway, they are there and they are getting the airbag deployed, which is a good thing because as the airbag is being deployed and as Buck is slowly lowering himself down, the fire erupts out of one of the apartments above him, smashing the windows, a big fireball. It's all very dramatic. Has the slight consequence of setting his rope on fire.
Yeah. What are the chances? So he starts hurrying up, but he's like, I don't think we're going to make it.
Yeah, it's will he get down safely before the rope fully burns through, or is the rope going to burn through first?
But thankfully, when the rope does burn through and they fall, they land in the airbag and they're fine. So, whew.
Very dramatic rescue, though.
Yes. There's a lot of gasps from the crowd as well. It's great.
Yes.
Yep, and Gladys says thank you, and she is reunited with Anton, and that's the point where I was like, oh, that's right, he said...
So, wow, okay. So you
No, I must have worked it out earlier when
like when Buck
he said when
Gladys?
when the cat was not Gladys. Anyway, it was a very dramatic opening scene, and
it was very dramatic.
Got to this part and let out a sigh of relief, kind of thing.
Yes, sort of chill out a little bit now. Hen can't though, because she's still got to hand over Anton at the hospital, which she does. We see the 118 arrive at whichever hospital they get to, and she wheels Anton in, and she's reeling off all of his stats. And the doctor's like, yeah, okay, cool, we got it. We're, absolutely smashed right now, but we got it. And Hen's like, no, you need to listen to me because I am a paramedic with the magical ability to diagnose somebody just by looking at them. And you need to I'm going to give you all these orders. And again, has her viewing of House and Grey's Anatomy and all of the medical shows, like where in paramedic school would she know what tests to order?
Yeah, I have no idea. House.
12 lead EKG.
To look for an arrhythmia associated with hypercalcemia. Where in the paramedic textbook does it teach you that?
Paramedics that are listening.
Yes, please.
Actually, I have the friend who's the firefighter paramedic. I should ask her.
Yes.
Well, the rest of them, apart from Hen and Jim, are back at the they're in the locker room.
They're there too. They're all there.
Oh, they are too. Oh no, this is not the guy that Hen goes to. I thought Hen was, holding onto the guy's aorta here.
Oh no, this is later.
That's later. Okay.
This is the one that. This is why she ends up pinching the aorta, because she doesn't trust the doctors anymore after what happens to poor Anton. But we've got to get through date night first. So everyone's back at the 118. Buck is riding the high of his amazing dramatic rescue, and he wants to go out and celebrate.
Oh, he's so happy.
He's so happy. My little golden retriever.
He wants to go to a bar with the loaded fries. And he's like, the first round is on me. But unfortunately, everybody else on the 118 has plans.
Yeah.
Christopher is actually hosting a sleepover at Eddie's house. It's not that he's going to somebody else's house for a sleepover, because, fun fact, Ellen, Christopher never sleeps at Eddie's house in fanfics. He's always over at a sleepover. Which I think is just a device to get Chris out of the house so that Buck and Eddie can get it on.
Right.
But it's nice to see that Chris is reciprocating by allowing people to come to his house for a sleepover for once.
Oh, yeah, the poor guy. He's having a bunch of 9-year-olds for a sleepover. Yes. Like, that sounds like hell. But okay, good for Chris.
Do you think that... Because remember the last time Chris went to a sleepover, Eddie pretty much handed over a binder full of instructions?
Yeah.
Do you think he got that in return from any of the parents? Or they're like, if you can handle Christopher, you can handle my kid?
Well, it's because it's a higher needs school, isn't it? So yeah, probably.
I have no idea.
Maybe. I'm sure he can handle it.
It just tickles my fancy that, you know, some parent shows up at the door with like a 3-ring binder full of telephone numbers and medication,
Even bigger binder,
protocols, and
and then Eddie's just like, shit, I have to make a bigger binder, and it's just bigger binders the way down.
And Eddie's just looking at this woman going, I'm a paramedic. I think I know how to administer an EpiPen.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I do like is that everybody's got plans. Everybody leaves. But Eddie does invite Buck to come to the sleepover with him. Like, it's not, you know, loaded fries at a bar, but you can come and hang with me and Christopher and a bunch of 9-year-olds.
But everyone else has got date night, so they don't want him.
Yeah, like Buck's going, like, oh, cool, it's date night. Have date night at the bar with me. And
Yeah.
All three of them are like,
okay,
that's
I'll
not
do,
exactly the date night.
I volunteer. What?
Well, we know you would, but apparently that's not Karen's idea of a fun date night.
Or Athena's.
Buck and Bobby
why.
and Athena don't want their son third-wheeling their date. And as Chim says, Buck is not the Buckley that he was looking forward to spending his night with.
Yeah.
And so
He's
one by
like,
one they
fine.
leave until Buck is left in the locker room alone.
Oh, poor Buck. He says, like, okay, Buckley, I guess we'll celebrate alone. Like, oh, now you're talking to yourself because all your buddies have left. So Buck actually does go.
Though,
He does
go out to the bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
he
I
does
would have
actually
just
go out.
I would have just said fuck it and gone home, but no, I guess for the storyline purposes, he has to go out. I don't know if it's the same bar.
We're also
though.
older than Buck currently is, so.
Yes.
I remember being young and having energy.
No, that was way too long ago now.
I don't think I was ever young and had energy.
Anyway, yes, Buck goes to a bar. I don't know if it is the bar that he wanted to go to, but it looks like it's a first responder bar.
Yeah. Is it the one that has the karaoke?
It does not. Do you really think that Red would be the kind of guy to go to the bar that does karaoke?
I think it's just not karaoke night.
Yeah, it might just have karaoke on one or two nights.
Like, I think they only go to one bar, but I think it's just not karaoke night.
It might be a different one. Who knows? But
who knows? I was not paying close enough attention to the set.
Older gentleman is sitting at the bar and watching the TV, which is showing Buck's rescue, like him rescuing Gladys,
which is literally just the footage that the A crew shot. They didn't even doctor it to make it look like it was shot by a news camera. It's literally just the same footage. Of
course they didn't. These are the same people that use screenshots as family photos, and it's just like, who took that photo? There was no one else there.
They did that in Supernatural too. It always made me laugh.
They did do it in Supernatural. It's like, was it, I'm pretty sure there's a shot from the Endverse episode in one of them, and it's just like, how the fuck, that was an alternate dimension. How did you get this photo?
Yeah, how did this photo end up in anyway. Physics. So Red this guy's name is Red, we find out later. Or in a little bit. But he sees Buck rescuing someone on TV and goes, idiot. And Buck's like, excuse me? And he tells him that he's stupid, basically. But Buck realizes that he used to be a firefighter. And then Red's like, I'm still a firefighter. Just because you retire doesn't mean you forget who you are. So they introduce themselves to each other, and he offers to buy Buck a drink, even though he still thinks he's an idiot. So he had recognised him. I wasn't sure that he actually recognised him from the footage until he actually said, how did you recognise Buck from the footage? I don't know. But because he's got a helmet on and everything, and yeah.
Magic.
For the drama, he recognised him from...
Yes.
To be fair, they were probably like, firefighter Buckley does it again, and he's like, this fucking idiot, and then turns around and he's like, this fucking idiot.
So we see them a little bit later. They have moved to a booth. There are many, many bottles of beer on the table in front of them, and it sounds like that Red has been telling Buck war stories about his time as a firefighter. which doesn't have the happy ending that Buck thinks it's going to be, because he asks Red whether he still sees his old crew. And he doesn't. Long story short, they are pretty much all dead.
No, he said at first we kept in touch, like they had barbecues and parties. And then there were Christmas cards and emails. And, yeah, the only thing they get together about nowadays is when one of them is dead. So that's very sad. And unfortunately true, like, I don't know about the dead part, but the, people you went to school with, for instance, gradually drift apart over the years, unless they're like your BFFs, and you never do that, which is great.
Yeah, I don't speak to anyone that I went to school with, but I do have one friend who I knew while we were both in high school. We went to different high schools. Mm-hmm. But yeah, only one person I still speak to regularly that I knew from back when I was a teenager.
Yeah, it happens.
I guess it's a thing where the people that you're friends with in high school, you are literally friends because by virtue of the fact that you are in the same place at the same time, you might... That's the thing that binds you together, and once you no longer have that, you kind of realize that maybe they're not the kind of person that you would have been friends with anyway. So
yeah, they're proximity friends. It's like work friends.
Yes.
Like you have people that you talk to every day and you're like, oh, these people are cool, and then you leave that workplace and you're like, yep, never spoken to them again.
Yeah,
it's sad, but it's the way.
It is.
It's the way of things. And so Buck's asking him if he has any grandkids. But Red always thought he'd get around to having kids, but it just never happened. He was too busy with work, basically.
Too consumed with the firehouse and being the best and saving lives. And at this point, I'm like, oh, wow, we're really hammering. We're really going for the comparison between the two of them right now, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
It's about as subtle as a brick wall in this scene.
So while Buck is having deep and meaningful conversations with Red, Bobby and Athena are on their date night. They're very sweet.
But at home.
They are. Well, I have a feeling that the date night is going to involve other things that you possibly couldn't be doing at a restaurant or at a bar. So, starting it at home makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
They're slow dancing in the living room, and I always find it really funny when they have Bobby and Athena dancing. It's sweet, but it's not something that that I ever remember doing, like just dancing in the living room. Maybe I'm not whimsical enough.
Not romantic enough.
Apparently not.
Not in love enough.
I have to say I don't think I've ever done that either. But unless it was like to make the kids go, ew, which does happen sometimes.
I dance with my dogs, but it's not slow dancing. It's like...
Yeah. Well, there's no chance of any kids going ill for Bobby and Athena because Athena very pointedly mentions that their house is silent because there are no kids. Except then there's a knock on the door.
Bobby's like, you gotta be kidding.
They jinxed it for sure.
And it might not be one of their kids, but it's still
it's one of their kids.
It's kind of one of their kids because it's Hen. And I did love Athena. Bobby's like, no, I've got to go answer the door. And Athena's like, okay, just don't open it all the way because if you open it all the way, whoever it is going to want to come inside. So he only opens it a crack. Hen just like wedges her body into that crack and pushes through. She's like, she's coming in.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's no stopping Hen. We know this.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she's like, she's quite flustered, though. She's upset.
I tried to call you, but both of your phones were off. It was going straight to voicemail, and then she looks around and realizes why it was going straight to voicemail.
Like, she knew that they were having date night, and she's still just like, no, I'm pushing in. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm going to go over there and tell them in person.
But the thing is, she also has, like, it's also date night for her, and she left Karen in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were on their way to the restaurant, and Hen's gone like, nope, we need to swing by Bobby and Athena's first.
Yeah, I need a debrief right at this very second.
Because she heard a report on the news that there was a fatality from that fire that they just attended, and it's the guy that she took to the hospital.
Dun, dun, dun. And Bobby identifies him as the guy with the cat. It was like, he also had a wife who was rescued by, well, I assume that she's his wife.
I have no idea.
In a most dramatic fashion. But anyway, yeah, the guy with the cat.
Who knows?
They had a lavender marriage. So Bobby goes off to make a call. And Hen is distracted enough to comment on how Bobby and Athena go all out for date night, and says that, me and Karen, we go to Mexican.
Yeah, they've got all these candles on the table and stuff. Like, it's very romantic. Yeah.
To be fair, this is both of their second marriages, so I have a feeling that you try a little bit harder in your second marriage.
Hen's like, she notices there's flowers on the table, so she pulls out her phone. She's like, what time do florists close?
Athena's like, no. Google jewelry. You got to think bigger. Flowers aren't going to cut it.
Just a moment of lightheartedness before we go back to the drama.
Yes, because Bobby returns and informs Hen that Anton's official cause of death was cardiac arrest. At which point, Hen is just absolutely in disbelief because she's like, I knew that something was wrong. I've got that
I had
magical...
the helmet, for God's sake.
Yes! She just starts ranting. She's like, what is the point in rescuing these people and treating them and getting them to the hospital if when they get to the hospital, they're going to die? And Bobby is trying to reassure her and said, like, Hen, you did your job. And she's like, well, too bad nobody else did theirs.
Yeah, I would have thought that she'd been in this job long enough to realise that this happens sometimes, right?
Yes, but we need this to set up the next storyline. So,
yeah.
But it's really interesting that not only have, like, when the show started, it was we don't go past the glass doors. And now suddenly we've gone, like, through the glass doors. And now we're, like, deeply invested in the diagnosis, like, all the way into the operating theatre.
We're into the operating theatre. Oh, God.
I have a feeling date night's ruined. So,
yeah.
Poor Karen.
But, Buck's having a great date night now. Because he's gone home with Red.
But like I said, I think he's invited himself home with Red.
Yeah, he's taking him home to make sure he gets home okay.
Yes.
That's the reason. But I just thought it was funny that he's like going up to the door and I'm like, oh, it's taken Buck home. Anyway, yeah. Buck sees a photo on the wall that has a bunch of firefighters in it. And he said, this is them, right? This is your house. And yeah, that's all of the 134. And he tells him all about, like, Red tells him all their names and stuff.
And then God bless Buck because he sees a certificate of commendation on the wall made out to John Delacroix. And Buck's like, who's John? And it's like, you didn't think somebody actually called me Red, did you? It's a nickname.
Yeah, so the guys used to call him Code Red because he was a bit of a hothead when he was young. Because just in case we hadn't noticed, Red and Buck are very similar.
Yeah.
Really?
Just in case you hadn't made that connection yet.
Hadn't noticed. Didn't see the parallels.
No, had no idea.
As someone who often doesn't see the parallels, I definitely saw the parallels.
Even Ellen saw the parallels.
Even I saw the parallels.
The parallels were like neon flashing lights.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised they didn't just call him, like, Chuck, and his name was, like, John Chuckley.
Yeah. I mean, he has a nickname. That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Buck notices a photo of a much younger Red with a woman, and he's like, "Oh, who's this?" But Red tells him that that's Cindy. She was the one who got away.
Everybody, take a drink.
Yeah.
Yep. Take a shot.
They were going to be married, but they ended up breaking up over, well, he was too busy working, and it sounds like she got sick of being second place, you know.
Yeah, there was a baseball story, which I'm pretty sure is meant to be significant, but having no idea about baseball, I don't know. Something about a Dodgers game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like something about like 5 games or so. I don't understand at all.
It was a World Series. I have a feeling that it's significant, but point is she left him.
Yeah, she left. She left. Buck also has no one. He did once, but no longer does. And Red's like, look, you can be the hero, save lives, but don't neglect having your own. Last thing you want to do is be at the end holding nothing but regrets. Trust me, I know.
And on that slightly depressing note, we go to commercial.
So this whole scene is just Buck looking into a mirror.
Yeah, an older mirror.
Yeah.
From the future.
It's like the ghost of Christmas past, present and future.
So Buck freaks out and goes to work the next shift, whenever that is, and tells everyone else, they're all playing pool. It must be just, you know, in between jobs or whatever, but
yeah,
he's telling them all about Red and how great he was during doing his job and everything. But now he lives alone in a 1-bedroom apartment that he pays for with his pension, and he doesn't see any of the others ever. And Eddie's like, well, from the way you described him, it sounds like he's okay with that. Buck's like, well, I'm not okay with it.
No, because it's hitting a little bit too close to home for Buck. And he says that Red's situation does bother him because he has no friends, he has no family. All the guys from the 134, they don't talk anymore. It's like they just left him behind. And
Can we talk quickly about the I think that Bobby's been like dubbed over here. Like, I'm pretty sure he did not say this in the thing, but like every time anyone makes a shot, he like comments on it, and it's only Bobby, and it's like in the background, and it doesn't sound right.
It's
and
Bobby.
It just cracked me up so much.
It's Bobby being supportive dad and just, you know, making sure his team know that they're doing a really good job playing pool.
It is. I love it so much, but it's very much like it seems like it's just been put in afterwards, and it just made me laugh so much.
But it is slightly ironic because one of the like nice shots comes after Eddie makes an absolute banger of a bad shot, to the point where I don't know.
Okay, I'm assuming they're playing the version of pool where you like. I don't know all that much about different, you know, snooker and pool and that. But you hit the white ball into another ball and make it go in the pocket, right?
Yeah.
And Eddie just fires. Yes. He just fires the white ball directly into a pocket.
Yeah, and it's awful.
And Bobby goes, nice shot.
You hear Bobby like weirdly superimposed in the background, like, nice one, Eddie. What is happening right now? Like, did they just feel like someone needed to comment on the fact that they were playing pool, and they're just like, you know what, we've got Peter in the like recording like booth today. Peter, just say like, yay Eddie and good job Chim, and that'll do. Like,
yeah. It's just, it's so ironic that one of them comes after Ryan makes an incredibly bad shot.
Yeah.
So while Bobby is being supportive dad and Eddie/Ryan is terrible at playing pool, Buck is still spiraling.
He's no Jensen Ackles.
That man can do anything, like anything and everything. We're still mad at him.
Yeah, so Buck is still spiraling, and he wants reassurance that what has happened to Red is not going to happen to him. But he's like, what happened to the 134 is not going to happen to us, the 118. And everyone's like, you know, of course not. We're family. Nothing's going to change. Including the line of Buck's like, yeah, you know, if Bobby retired. Bobby's like, wait, you know something I don't? And Alice is just losing it in the background. For those of you who are up to date with season 8, if you know, you know. Buck clarifies, like, someday, when you retire, someday, but we're all going to keep in touch. And Eddie's trying to be supportive. Like, yeah, like, you two, like, Shim and Hen, you still talk to the guys that used to be in the 118 before us, right? And Hen's all like, I don't know that we would call them friends. And Shim's like, I mean, I spoke to Tommy last year when I called him for a favour.
Is he talking about the thing where the plane, like,
yes,
he was dumping the water with the plane?
Water bomb the house. Yeah.
So you didn't even call him after that to, like, say thanks or anything?
No,
he was just like...
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then they're like... They're looking at Eddie like, did that help? And Eddie's
just like,
no,
fuck,
guys. Like,
that did not help. So as a quick aside, for everybody who, like, I know there was some comments after, like, Bobby Begins Again, when we were talking about Chim and Hen's relationship with, like, Sal and Tommy and those. This is my
relationship.
This is my evidence where I'm like, yeah, they were simply situational work friends. They were not actual friends, and this is your proof, because Hen's like, yeah, no, we weren't
Proximity
actually friends.
workplace. Oh,
yes.
What does Ron Swanson say? Proximity workplace associates?
Oh, wow. It's super specific.
Workplace proximity associates.
Yes. So, yes, and apparently when you are no longer in the same workplace, or you don't have proximity, you no longer associate with them anymore. So Eddie's like trying to backpedal and trying to reassure Buck that that's not going to happen to us. And Buck just death glares him and says, well, it better not. And I love this line reading from Oliver because it's so intense. It's like, I will do whatever it takes.
Oh,
you are not leaving me. None of you are leaving me.
Okay, so we're going to the next medical emergency, which is a
electric
father
scooters.
and son. Yeah. Bit topical at the moment because places keep trying to ban them because people keep axing themselves on trees and
I was watching Ambulance last night, which is the show that's literally, like, it's about as descriptive as 911. It's the show about the Queensland ambulance service. Mm-hmm. And their first call out was a guy who was on an electric scooter and ran directly into the side of a van. And he ended up with, like, broken teeth and a like compound fracture in his calf.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of people ride them around the city when they're drunk, like, to get from one place to another.
Well, the funny thing is, right, so the paramedics are talking to him and, like, you know, trying to keep his mind off it, and they're just like, oh, like, where were you coming from? And he goes, Office Works. And they're like, why were you at Office Works? Because it's dark at this stage, too. And he's like, I was making photocopies. And they're like, okay.
Okay.
Right.
So, yeah,
who
knows?
These characters were not making photocopies.
They were not making photocopies?
No, I think
they're making memories.
They are.
They're having a nice time to start with.
Yeah. So they get on the electric scooter. It's a dad and a son. They both get on the same scooter, take off down the road. Neither of them are wearing a helmet.
They're going quite fast.
They are. They're also on the footpath, which means that they keep almost running into people, and people have to keep diving out of their way.
They're not even slowing down either. They're just, like, barreling through.
Yeah. So they end up going onto the road, which, you know, at least they don't have to worry about pedestrians. But it does mean that they have to worry about cars. And what's interesting is while these guys are doing their joyride, we are occasionally getting glimpses of them through a drone camera, like from overhead.
Yeah. And
then as they're, you know, winding their way through the suburbs, the drone camera operator is sitting in a truck, and he gets out of the truck for some reason, but he doesn't do a Swedish look, so he opens the car door and our scootering enthusiasts just immediately smash into the now open door.
What is this? What is a Swedish look?
I think it's called the Swedish look. I remember seeing it somewhere, which is in I want to say Sweden, but it's sort of the European countries where they have a lot of cyclists. When you open your car door, you don't do it with the hand that's closest to the door. You do it with the other hand, which forces you to twist your body so that you're looking over your shoulder as you open the door, so that you can keep an eye out for cyclists so you don't open it into their path.
Right.
But this guy didn't do this.
Very smart, yeah.
It is very smart because then it stops this from happening, which is they don't actually smash into the door. I misremembered. They swerve to avoid the door.
Yeah, they swerve out of the way, and then the drone crashes to the road, and they run into the drone.
And they run into the drone, and which sends them flying.
Yeah, and we get a really almost comical shot of them from underneath going, "Wah!" as they fly through the air.
That must have been a fun day for them. Like, okay, we just need you to like jump onto the crash pad and make like the sprawl out in the air and just make the best faces. But in the show, they don't land on a crash pad. I don't know what happens to Bryce, which is the son, but the dad ends up upside down in a hedge.
Fully upside down. It's ridiculous.
He's so stuck in that hedge, they have to get like a little chainsaw thing to cut him out
they
of there.
get the chainsaws, but like his feet are just like directly up in the air.
Yeah, he did a full 180.
Yeah.
I do love that once again someone has gone to get a chainsaw and the victim immediately thinks that the chainsaw is for them.
Like, you're in a bush. It's not even like, this is exactly what a chainsaw is for. Actually, we won't talk about what a chainsaw was invented for.
I don't think I want to know. I think I already do know, but no.
If you don't know, don't ever find out.
Okay, good.
It's horrific.
It's horrifying.
Okay, so Athena is like, gonna write this guy. He's gonna write them a ticket for riding a e-scooter without a helmet to start with, but also it's illegal to fly a drone over private property, so that guy's also getting done. Athena's just generally mad at everybody about this whole thing.
Athena really is mad at the world today.
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing...
You get a ticket. You get a ticket.
You ruined my date night, so everyone's getting a ticket today.
She didn't get her sexy times, so she's pissed off at the world.
Oh, you don't think they still got it on after Hen left?
No.
Bobby was sitting in a corner sad about the guy dying. Athena's like, fucking Hen.
You got to make the most of your non-kid time. Like, I'm sure they still got something going on.
No. Anyway, so Athena
Let's not go there much further.
Athena takes the now broken drone over to the drone owner, who the drone owner, or Jeffrey, which is probably an easier thing for me to say right now.
Hang on, what other laws so they just said you can't fly drones over private property?
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
Other people's private property? Because we have a drone, but we have acreage, so we only fly it over our own property. I assume that's legal?
You can fly it over your own property. That's fine. As long as you're not going too high up to interfere with, like, actual aeroplanes.
I don't think it could get that high.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't look it up, and even if I did, I think Australian laws relating to sort of drones is going to be different from American laws.
Yeah, I mean, you see drones flying around the place all the time, like...
There was one at a park when we were there for Halloween once.
Yeah, but that's, like, public property. Like, you don't often see drones flying sort of over houses, and we find out that Jeffrey is claiming that he's a real estate agent. He was taking aerial footage of the house for a listing, and I have had my neighbour, when his property was up for sale, the real estate agent took drone footage of the house, and because I live in a townhouse and they're conjoined, the real estate agent did come to my door and say, hey, I'm taking drone footage. Your property will unfortunately be included in that footage because it's literally attached to my client's house. Are you okay with that?
Oh, so they did come and
approach
approach you. Yeah, there you go.
Well, my car is also parked right outside. So,
Okay,
like, my
yeah.
car and my license plate and all that sort of stuff was... So, yeah, he did come and double-check with me that I was okay. And it literally just sort of... The drone was only going over this guy's townhouse. It didn't go over anybody else's houses in the complex.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to
Yeah, there
assume
you
that,
go.
yes, there are strict laws when you are flying drones about where they can go. But in this situation... There's a woman who I'm guessing is the woman who called 911 is there while Athena is interrogating Jeffrey, and he's saying, like, I'm a real estate agent. I'm getting footage for the house, and the woman's going, like, I know those neighbors. I haven't heard about any of them selling.
He's like, it's not public yet.
Yeah. The listing hasn't gone up yet. And Athena's like, cool. So you're, the agency that you work for, it's a commercial drone, therefore it should have a license. Can I see a license? He's like, oh no, they're too cheap to pay for a license.
Yeah.
Just the backpedaling. Athena's like, okay, cool. So I'm guessing they're going to be too cheap to bail you out of jail then, because you're under arrest.
Damn.
And he just does not shut up. The entire time she's putting him in cuffs, he's like, is this really necessary? Can't I just pay a fine for something? And we get back to the police station and he's still going. Like, arresting me just feels like way more trouble than it's worth. Athena hands Jeffrey off. You can hear him complaining all the way to wherever they're taking him, complaining that he wants a lawyer. And Athena goes to talk to another officer whose name badge says that their name is Stafford, about the drone. Hands over the drone, wants that put into evidence. And Athena's spidey sense is tingling and she says, hey, can you pull the SD card from the machine so we can see what Jeffrey's been filming?
Yeah, and Stafford said that the drone got destroyed, but the card should still be fine. Yeah. So they're going to check him out. Meanwhile, Buck is up to no good. He is up to all the good.
He thinks he's doing good.
Yeah.
I love that, like, Red's like, go live your life, and Buck's like, no, I'm going to live yours. Be right back.
I think maybe it's Buck thinking if he can fix Red's life, then Buck has a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's like, I'm not going to go out and live my own life. I'm going to fix your life because then I will be reassured that no matter how badly I fuck up now, by the time I'm sort of 40-year veteran and I will be okay. But so
he's like, it's fine. Some smart-ass kid will come and fix me later too.
So he's showed up at Red's because he found Cindy, which he thinks he's done an amazing job, and Red's like, I know where she has been this entire time. But the last I heard, she was married to that dentist husband of hers, which leads us to one of the greatest gifts of all time from this show.
Not anymore. He died. Isn't that great?
I mean, not great.
Unfortunately for me, that is a vocal stim, and it's very inappropriate to say in most occasions. That and maggot. Because, of course, it's always the inappropriate things that your brain latches onto and is like, hey, we should say this forever.
Yeah.
Apparently it's the emotional weight of that sort of phrasing. Like, it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
And because you know it's inappropriate, that's why your brain latches onto it, because you get yeah. I did look it up.
Brains are dicks. I get it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so he died, which is great. Except not great. That's obviously an overstatement. I'm sure he was a nice man.
But it's like, now she's single and you're single and, the last thing you want to be is at the end holding nothing but regrets. You remember? A wise man told me that. And Red's all, well, it would be polite just to, go pay my respects, right?
And Buck's like, yeah, you should change.
Yeah, go change your shirt. And Red's like, you go get the car ready.
Always on time.
And then we get Toto's Hold the Line. where we're told that love isn't always on time.
Excellent song choice.
Yes.
And Buck's gone all out. He's even got 2 tickets to the baseball for them.
And specifically, he's got them Dodgers tickets. So he was listening. He paid attention.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah, the ADHD gods work really well, except for things that you actually want to remember, like what you entered a room for.
Yeah.
He's hyper-fixated on red, so he remembers everything.
But yeah, so they approach the door. And when I say they approach the door, Buck goes too.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why Buck is also going, but he marches Red to the door, knocks and everything.
He's invested in this.
He's like, we are going to go meet Cindy. And Red's like, why are you here?
A lady opens the door and it's like a younger lady, like probably not going to be Cindy.
Not Cindy.
Yeah.
Unless Red has got some questionable tastes.
That's right.
Also, no, we saw a photo of a younger Cindy and the woman who opens doors.
Yeah, this is not that much. Yeah.
So it's quite clearly this isn't Cindy. But Cindy does sort of pop up behind, this is Doris who has opened the door. She pops up behind Doris's shoulder to see who is at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And Red sort of very shyly says, "Hey, Cindy." And there's a beat and then Cindy like, oh, hello. And do you think she actually recognized him? Or is she just doing that thing that dementia patients do when they know that they think they're supposed to know somebody, so they just pretend because that's what society expects
Because,
of
like,
them?
if they haven't seen each other for that many years too, like, he'd look different as well. So I don't think that...
Yeah.
But doesn't the sort of memory come and go a bit? Like...
Well, see, that's why I've got the question mark. Like, does she actually recognize him, or is she just pretending to at this point and hoping that at some point the memory will kick in?
She might think that he's someone else.
I don't know.
As well.
But anyway, they get invited in for tea, and Red is regaling Buck with stories about Cindy. And it seems to be going okay. Red's telling stories, everybody's laughing, Cindy's chiming in, but like some of the things she's saying is like a little bit strange. Like they're talking about Cindy being afraid of snakes, and she says, oh, well, they make terrible pets. And Red's trying to roll with it. But then he continues
on. She sort of starts talking about birds?
Yeah, and he's like, okay, cool. He just yes-ands this entire conversation. Like anything she says, he just rolls with it until we get to the point where they're talking about pets, and then Doris very seriously says, you have to fold them very carefully before you put them in the box.
Yeah, they both look very confused. Yeah.
Well, Red is like, what the fuck is going on here? Buck is like, shit. I know what this is. I've seen this before. And he tries to, like, very gently, very gracefully get Red out of the house before the shit hits the fan, but unfortunately he's not fast enough. Because he says to Red, like, maybe we should go, and Cindy's like, oh, Red. I knew a Red once. And Red's like, yeah, you knew me a long time ago, and he takes Cindy's hand, and that just triggers her, and she flies off into complete confusion.
I think this is where she becomes lucid.
Yes, because she has no idea who he is. She just knows that he's not her husband.
She recognises that he's not Stanley, yeah.
Yep, and...
Why are you in my house?
Why are you in my house? Who let you into my house?
It's such a terrifying thing.
It's so sad.
Especially with people that you used to know and you just no longer know them.
Red is absolutely furious with Buck. He storms out of the house, leaving Buck to sort of make their apologies and leave. Because the only thing Red had was Cindy. And these memories of Cindy.
He had the memories.
And now he doesn't have that anymore. Because the girl that he once knew no longer exists.
That's so sad.
He was trying to make it better.
The end where he goes, I'm not sure I can survive your help anymore. I'm just like, oh, poor Buck.
Oh, that's hard.
It's But again, it's the parallels are just like slamming over the top because we've had, the one who got away, and we had Buck reference, like I had somebody once, but, they got away from me. And now all of a sudden we've got Cindy who has dementia, and like the parallels with Patricia. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I can survive the symbolism in this episode.
All right. Well, I guess we have to go back to the LAPD briefly for the storyline that we don't really care about. Sorry,
We
Athena.
can too long didn't read it version, absolute speed run it.
It's important later, so we should probably go through it.
So Stafford has been reviewing the SD card that she pulled out of the drone, and she has found that it does contain aerial footage of the neighborhood, which would make sense if Jeffrey was a real estate agent. However, I don't know of any kind of real estate listings that would require the drone to focus on upstairs windows while women are standing right in front of the open window getting undressed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very pointedly, I don't know of any woman who would stand right in front of an open window like that to take off their bra, but they had to make it very obvious to the audience that he was peeping. He's a peeping Tom.
So she heads out to, do him for it, but the guy who was out there, who's, I don't know, I can't remember this scene. I can't remember how she approaches this guy, but anyway, he basically tells her that he's already let him go. The Fed said it wasn't worth the drive across town, so they let him go with a warning.
They bounced him. Yeah, this is Officer Ree. He's writing the desk, and she wants him to pull Jeffrey out of wherever they've stashed him and put him in an interrogation room. But he's not there anymore, which just means that Athena's got to track him down.
All right, so Buck is now having a debriefing with Maddie at his place.
And could we just talk about the staging of this debrief for a second? Because it's the weirdest staging.
It is. They're quite far apart.
So Maddie is sitting on the little steps that lead up to the balcony on Buck's loft, and Buck is sitting halfway up the stairs to his bedroom. Why?
Why is Maddie not sitting on a chair? Because isn't there a table and chairs right there?
There are stools at the kitchen bench. Then you've got the kitchen table
right now,
with its chairs.
There's a couch in the lounge room.
And now there's couches and chairs. There are plenty of seating options. I mean, other than maybe to emphasize the distance between them and how isolated Buck is feeling, but it's just the weirdest setup. But yeah, he's telling Maddie about what happened and that he thought that he was helping Red, but he just made everything worse.
Yeah, but they have a chat about Abby's mum.
Yeah, just in case anybody forgot about Abby and Patricia.
In case anyone skipped season 1. He mentions how Abby's mum would have moments like that, and Abby would always take it in her stride, but he knows it hurt to have someone she loved look at her and not see her. And Maddie's like, do you still think about her a lot? And Buck's like, Abby's mum?
Yeah.
Sassy boy.
But no, he admits, yes, he sometimes still thinks about Abby, but that's not what this is about.
So Maddie calls out the entire parallels. She's like, so
yeah,
you
Maddie
don't think...
full on just calls it out.
Yeah, in case you didn't see the neon flashing lights and the interpretive dancers pointing at the parallels between Red and Buck, Maddie says, so you don't think that this business with Red is hitting a little too close to home, the lonely hero firefighter who's pining for his lost love. And Buck's like, no, that's ridiculous. Wait, you think I'm lonely?
Can I just pause for a moment to say that how amazing that Oliver looks in this episode?
Oh, he's so cute in this.
He looks amazing.
Oh, the part in the hospital. Oh.
The lean at the hospital.
I think partially because a lot of it he's not wearing his uniform, he's in civvies, and it looks so different. It's jarred my brain into oh, wow.
You can always pause to marvel at the physical splendor that is Oliver Stark. We will never be upset with that kind of, can we just pause?
Yeah. Anyway, yes, continue.
And like last episode, we just had him covered in mud and not in a fun way because he was just crying the whole time. And same with Eddie, like he was just covered in mud and not in a fun way.
Yeah.
Like we like grungy, but not that bad. Like
Not in a fun way.
And they were in their turnouts for most of the last episode too, so it is nice to see them, like, actually see the physical form a little bit tighter clothing. Anyway, yes.
Anyway, thirsting aside,
Buck
is being sad.
Buck is being very sad. Maddie says that she does think that he's lonely because he tried dating a few times after Abby left, but it appears to her that he's just given up, stopped trying. And she tries to sympathize with him by saying that she knows how hard it is. And this next part is just heartbreaking because Buck is not mad. He's not blaming. He just speaks truth and says, do you? Because you are never the one getting left behind. You are always the one to leave.
Yeah.
But it is like he just like stabbed Maddie in the heart and twisted.
yeah, and he does mention he doesn't mean with Doug because Doug she definitely needed to leave.
For everybody else.
But all the guys she dated before him, the girl that she was best friends with in high school, mum and dad, him. And Maddie goes to apologise and Buck's like, look, I'm not mad. I'm just saying maybe you don't understand because you're always the one who leaves. You don't know what it's like to watch someone you love walk away.
And he's not mad. And he's not upset. He's just, his voice is completely calm and flat. He's just like, this is the truth. This is facts. You don't know what it's like to leave because you don't know what it's like to be left because you're always the one doing the leaving. And then from that heartbreaking scene, we go to our next medical emergency.
Oh, this is like everything I hate about these cooking shows. And like MasterChef is about to start again and I know that my daughter wants to watch it and I'm like, do we have to? I mean, it's not as bad as this.
It's like a community channel, like has no money. It's operating out of the back of someone's house kind of level of cooking show. Because
It's Channel 31 made a cooking show.
Pretty much. Like, every 5 seconds there's a dramatic sound effect or a knife doing the sweeping down to cut to the next transition. The dialogue is terrible. The set is could fit into my bathroom. It's just
like they
bad.
took all of the existing cooking shows and just turned them up to 100.
Like every cliche you can think of from every cooking competition. This is it. I don't even know what the premise is of this show. I don't even know if it's meant to be parodying something or whether it's just meant to be parodying everybody.
Cooking.
No, but she's saying
they are
that
actually cooking.
These are the losing chefs from all her other shows. So anyway, that's not the point. The point is that
Bex is like, I don't want to watch 911. I just want to watch The Last Cook.
I want to know what the point of it is. Anyway.
But this guy's making triple bourbon bread pudding. And he's adding more bourbon to the sauce. He's got bourbon in the pudding itself and bourbon in the whipped cream.
Yes, and he's going to use a nitrous thingy, which looks like it's like a pressure canister to whip the cream, rather than trying to whip it by hand, which the host of the show is a little bit dubious about because it changes the texture of the whipped cream, but in the end that doesn't really matter because the canister explodes and the poor chef contestant gets the nozzle embedded in his chest.
Ouch. And the host, who is covered in cream.
Everything is covered in cream.
Everything is covered in cream.
Yes.
Yeah. It's quite hilarious because everyone's just kind of frozen in shock, including the chef that just got shot through the heart with the cream canister. And then
You mean the chef that just got creamed?
He slowly topples backwards and then you just hear this little voice go, "Medic!"
Yeah, but it's the actual host who pulls out her phone and calls 911. and says, my chef's been creamed. I agree, one of the worst.
It's like, I literally have it in my notes. I think this is the worst call. It's so bad.
Maybe if I'm bored one day, we'll go through and I will find all of the 911 calls. And, like, we can rank them.
That's
anyway.
one for the season wrap-up.
Yes. The top
Fuck, Marry,
5...
kill, but it's the...
The top 5
the
worst
worst.
911 calls. I'm assuming that they get a little bit more information out of her other than her chef is being creamed, because the 118 do arrive, and Hen and Chim immediately take charge. They see that the nozzle has penetrated his chest. They don't know how deep the shrapnel is. I don't know why. I mean, if you can look at a patient and diagnose them with a thyroid condition, surely you should be able to use what sort of X-ray vision you've got to figure out exactly how deep the shrapnel is penetrated.
Honestly, come on.
But they immediately decide that they're going to rush this guy straight to hospital and let actual doctors treat him. Or so we think.
Yeah.
Because Chim and Hen get him in the ambulance. They're rushing to Mercy Hospital. Bobby's radioed ahead, told them to get surgeons on the line. But the chef is not doing well. His blood pressure is bottoming out, and they've still got 7 minutes before they're at the hospital.
Yeah, Hen doesn't think he's going to make it because his torso's filling up with blood and the shrapnel probably clipped his aorta. And at least Chim calls her out on it this time. He's like, you have no way of knowing that.
Like, sir, do we need to tell you about all the things you have managed to diagnose just by look? I'm pretty sure that he looked at somebody and worked out that they had like a double collapsed lung just by looking at them. But sure, in this instance, fine. So Hen decides that the only logical thing to do is to perform a thoracotomy in a moving ambulance.
Yeah, she's going to widen the opening that's already there. And Chim's like, that's a job for a surgeon. She's like, nah, I got this.
I'm good. I got gloves. I watched House last night.
She's going to pinch the aorta just above the injury. And I'm thinking, isn't that just going to cut off the blood supply to his body? And then Chim actually says, you're going to cut off the circulation in his lower limbs.
And Hen's like, nah, as long as his heart's still fine. It's like when they, the dude that they were, they got the nail gun to the chest and they're having to perform CPR on him. And Chim's like, I'm just making the whole works. And Hen's like, they can fix broken, they can't fix dead. So it's just the situation's reversed here. Like, they can fix lack of circulation in the limbs, they can't fix a heart that's not beating. So,
yeah, like it's basically the theory about like CPR and tourniquets as well. So CPR, you break the like patient's sternum and or ribs.
Yeah.
But it's like they're dead when you're doing it, so it's better than being dead. And same with the tourniquet, like it's a big likelihood that you're going to lose the limb that's below the tourniquet.
But at least you'll be alive.
Otherwise you're going to bleed out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Chim calls out Hen and sort of lets the audience know why Hen is doing this, like her motivations for why she is so adamant that she's going to perform this like incredibly risky maneuver, because she doesn't want to lose this guy the way she lost the guy at the fire.
Yeah, and I was also thinking at the time about the cellist. Like, she's had a lot of trauma recently about losing patients, so now she's like, you do what you want, I'm going to do this. And it was like, okay.
Yeah, and right. Bobby brings that up as well later on the episode, that she's all of these patients that she's quote-unquote lost. But she's adamant in this situation that she didn't lose Anton, the hospital did. And so she's just like, I don't care what you say, Chim, I'm doing this.
Anyway, they managed to make it to the hospital without being completely covered in blood this time.
Well, all the blood's inside the chest cavity.
Yeah.
So
Chim's a little disappointed.
Yeah, all the blood's on the inside the body. That's where it's supposed to be.
But they do make it to the hospital. And Hen's hand is like inside his chest as they wheel him out of the ambulance.
Yeah, she's refusing to take her hand out.
And they tell a doctor what happened. And he's like, are you kidding me? That's a surgeon's job.
This doctor, though, like, he's off in the lobby talking to two other people who I'm assuming are his, like, are relatives of patients that he's supposed to be dealing with. He sees the gurney coming in and just immediately ditches those people so that he can come over and, like, take over this situation. And he's trying to be the big damn hero.
Like, see ya, losers.
Just sort of leaving these two people with business badges going, what just happened? But I do like that, like, all in the scene in the ambulance, Chim is just reiterating it's a job for a surgeon, it's a job for a surgeon. Hen, no. We get to the hospital and the doctor is saying that was a job for a surgeon. Chim has immediately got Hen's back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, Chim is the best, like, you know, he's the best friend, he's the big brother. He's like, you know, I'm allowed to give her shit, but no one else is allowed to give her shit. Like, Hen, you're a fucking idiot. The surgeon's like, Hen, you're a fucking idiot. And he's like, fuck you!
Yeah,
she's the smartest person in this room.
She's done it, and she's done it well. So tell us where to go.
Yeah, so the doctor immediately takes charge. He tells Hen that she can let go, and she's like, no. I let go. He codes before we make it to the ER. I lose another patient. You are taking me with him. I am not letting go until he is literally right in front of a surgeon. So just tell me where I'm going.
So now we enter into an episode of Grey's Anatomy somehow. They weren't even on the same network at this stage, but here we are.
It's very much.
Bocky's in the background for some reason.
Who?
The anesthesiologist in Grey's Anatomy.
Is that the one that fell asleep and the kid woke up in brain surgery?
No, she's like the only... Hang on. I don't think she is the anesthesiologist.
That's the only anesthesiologist I remember.
Sorry, she's a scrub nurse, but she's like still in it, and she's actually a nurse. And like she doesn't talk; she's just sort of in the background.
Okay.
Well, Hen.
She's not actually in this episode, for the record. Yep.
They have a little montage of Hen getting scrubbed up, and well, as much as she can handle because she's still got one hand in the patient.
Yeah, like there are two scrub nurses, putting a gown.
They put like the gown and a hat on.
Yeah, as they're wheeling the patient in, and then we meet the surgeon. So the surgeon asks for the sit rep. The white male doctor from the waiting room has followed everybody into the room, and very sort of sneeringly says, "Oh, it's a thoracotomy in the field," and the surgeon is like, "Wow, somebody needed a challenge." So they do medical stuff. The surgeon says...
literally just say surgery stuff happens.
Surgery stuff.
Imagine if we were actually doing a Grey's Anatomy podcast.
No, God, no.
It's like, I don't know, there's a scalpel and some stuff.
They do some cutting, I don't know, blood spurts.
Yeah, and then they're in an elevator making out, so it's fine.
Surgery stuff happens. They manage to clamp the aorta. Hen is able to remove her hand. Maurice lives. It's all good.
Yeah, but the surgeon says to her, "You can let go now, doctor.
You can let go now, doctor."
Doctor?
And the white male doctor is like, she's not a doctor. She's just a paramedic who brought him in and apparently felt the need to break every rule in the book. And the surgeon, who is a white woman, looks at this young, privileged white man, looks at the older black paramedic and decides that she's going to side with the paramedic and goes, "Nice work, firefighter."
She's like, "Fuck the rules.
Yes.
You were right."
Fuck the patriarchy.
Yes. Meanwhile, in a possibly same hospital?
Another hospital?
In another hospital?
Possibly the same hospital? I don't know.
Hospital Mark II?
A different floor on the same hospital, let's go with. Buck has been called to said hospital by Red. I don't know why Red is in the hospital. I don't know when he got to the hospital. But he called Buck because he didn't know who else to call and he needs help getting home.
Oh.
But apparently Buck wasted a trip down there because the doctors don't appear to be willing to let Red leave.
Yeah, and Buck's like, well, they probably know what's best. Like, they'll release you when you're better. And Red goes, oh, kid, there's no better. This escalator's only going in one direction because it's
Mesothelioma.
Thank you. Which is lung cancer.
Pretty much, yeah.
Apparently he lasted longer than they thought he would.
And apparently, he's just decided to nosedive in the last, couple of days. Like, he met Buck and immediately just went on a downhill.
Oh, no, but Buck assisted in breaking his heart, so...
Oh, that's what it is. Like, Cindy was the only thing keeping him alive, and now he no longer has Sydney. He's just going to start spiralling the drain. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, poor Red.
Poor Buck. So,
Buck's like, it's okay, Red won't leave me, and Red's like, bet.
But for once, Buck asks, what can I do to help? And Red's just like, well, could you sit with me for a while? So Buck sits with him and lets Red tell him more war stories about his time with the 134.
Yeah, it's very sweet in the end.
Yeah.
Yes. So then I'm guessing the next day, Hen is arriving for her shift. She's already in duty uniform. I'm very confused as to exactly the timing of what's going on here. But as she's walking towards the locker room, she notices that some smartass has hung a white lab coat from her equipment locker. And apparently the rest of the 118 has been hiding under the truck and around the corner and behind doors so that they could jump out and surprise Hen when she noticed the doctor's jacket. It's very cute.
Yeah, they all jump out and they cheer and they make her put the coat on.
Yes.
And, you did it. Let's commemorate the first surgery.
Yeah, they call her Dr. Wilson. And she says, oh, I like the sound of Dr. Wilson. And can we have a quick shout out that background firefighter is back?
Yay, background firefighter.
We have missed you, background firefighter.
Actually, there are a bunch of other firefighters in this episode that we've never seen before.
Yeah, they were allowed to participate. It's nice.
Yeah, it's like suddenly they had the budget to have a bunch of extras.
So while everybody's celebrating, Buck gets a phone call and disappears. And I don't know where everybody else goes, but Bobby approaches Hen.
Okay, so he says to, Hen apologises to him and says, look, I wasn't thinking, it was instinct. And she had to make sure that it stayed a win. So, and this is where Bobby calls her out and says, this is more than about Anton. You're still thinking about the cello player. I like how they keep referring to her as the cello player. Rather than
that was her entire
But they had a 5 whole minutes of let's get to know her, let's learn her name. I don't even remember her name. She's just literally now the cello player.
It was Evelyn.
Of course.
It was too.
Of course you'd remember that.
But anyway, Hen does, Bobby does say that the patient didn't die and no one's complained. So
no, it's great.
Don't do it again.
So yeah, how much trouble am I in? And Bobby's like, the patient didn't die. Nobody lodged a complaint. It's a great save. And then his face drops. Don't do it again.
Don't do it again. Thanks, Captain Dad. My paramedic just got back to me regarding Hen doing changeover.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, she tells the doctor she does to run a 12-lead EKG to look for an arrhythmia associated with hypercalcemia. And my paramedic friend said, yes, the 12-lead, that's normal, and she does those. But you're definitely not supposed to put your hands inside a patient. So shout out to Kate the paramedic. Love your work.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, we got to go back to the hospital, and we're just going to freeze frame for a couple of seconds because Buck is in his duty uniform and he's doing this lean against the wall.
And he's just all legs.
Yeah. Oh my god. The length of those man's legs.
Whew.
I'm so going to hell.
Yeah, at least he's my age.
Yes, see? This is what I'm talking about. I'm not allowed to be lusting after Oliver Stark because he's way not age appropriate.
I'm on the television.
Oh, I'm very much appreciating.
we may rename you to Abby, but you're allowed to appreciate.
No, hey, look, I liked Abby. I'm okay with that. If I can get hair like Abby, I will be fine.
Yes, she did have very beautiful hair.
Anyway,
Buck is springing Red out of jail. I mean, hospital jail.
Hospital jail. He's springing him from hospital jail.
Yeah, Red even is like, how'd you get them to spring me? And Buck's like, I made a few calls. Actually, it was a lot of calls. Turns out Buck's also stubborn.
And he's going to take him home, but not in his car. And this bit is really lovely. It's very touching, isn't it?
They push open the doors to wheel Red outside and reveals that there is an honor guard set up of, I'm assuming, members of the 118 in uniform, and then there are older men, which I know I said that I thought all of the 134 was dead, but I have a feeling that those guys on the left-hand side of the honor guard might be the remaining members of the 134.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, even existing members.
So
Possibly.
they've formed a tunnel that Buck pushes Red through in his wheelchair, and everybody is standing in a salute. And then outside in the parking lot entry roadie thingy external to the hospital, the 118 have parked their engine trucks and their ladder trucks, and Bobby, Chim, Hen, and Eddie are standing in a salute waiting for Red. And Red is visibly fighting back tears as Buck pushes him through. And he can't believe that Buck did all this for him. And Buck tells him, well, you sacrificed everything for the job. The least we could do was say thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
There are.
And Bobby, when they get to the truck, Bobby tells him that he can take the captain's seat. I don't know what happens if they get an emergency, like while they're on their way home. He just has to go along with them.
Possibly. I have a feeling that Buck might have let Maddie know to take the 118 off rotation for the next hour or so. But yes, they help Red up into the ladder truck, and Red salutes, and Buck very slowly returns the salute and then just holds it for the longest time. And then we get a shot of 118's engine truck and the ambulance going down the road, lights and sirens going, it's dark, it's very pretty, as we had a voiceover from Buck saying that Red passed away at 5:23 that morning. So he went quick.
Yeah.
So once again, Buck is having a debrief with his sister. This time they're actually sitting on furniture, which is better than trying to talk across the loft, across the apartment from various staircases.
And Buck is in tears when he's telling Maddie about this. Maddie says, you were there for him when no one else was. You know. And then Buck was like, did I do that thing that I always do and make it about me? And I tried to fix him to make myself feel better. And it's like, a little bit.
A little bit?
A little bit, but your heart was in the right place. You tried to make things better for him as well, so.
And I think he did make things better for Red.
Yeah.
So it's like win-win. Like, you feel a little bit better, you feel like you're not going to die alone, and Red got like a final send-off and he didn't die alone. Although he's once again Buck is spiraling with the parallels between his life and Red's life, because he tells Maddie, all Red ever wanted to do was talk about the job. The job really was his whole life, which, as we have seen, firefighting is Evan Buckley's entire existence. And anything that possibly takes him away from firefighting is met with, intense, supreme panic and lawsuits. So...
Yeah. And Maddie tries to tell him that you are not him, his life is not your future.
Government names him. Like, she calls him Evan to make sure that he's paying attention.
Yeah. He didn't have a sister. He didn't have me. This is so sweet.
She tries to reassure him that she might have left him twice actually. She might have left him twice. Once with Mum and Dad, and once when things got rough with Doug, but she came back. Because she's his sister, he is her brother, and she loves him. And she promises that Buck will never get left behind. And they pinky promise.
Oh,
it's so cute. Buck looks like he's about to burst into tears and almost begging Maddie to promise that she will never leave him behind, and she just holds up a pinky finger and he just bursts out laughing.
Aww.
But he does do the pinky swear with her.
Yeah.
And you'd think that would be the perfect place to end this episode. But it's not. We've still got one more scene to do. So Athena has tracked down Jeffrey the Peeping Tom, and surprise, surprise, he is not at home.
Oh, he's gone.
We do meet Detective Ranson, though, who is another detective who I'm not entirely sure that I remember what department he's with, but we don't get Romero in this one, we get Ranson.
Mm-hmm. He must be from the SVU.
Possibly.
Dun, dun.
But they've found a whole bunch of hard drives and discs and stuff in his house. He just left all of that stuff behind when he got out of town.
And poor Stafford, who I'm guessing is some kind of tech analyst specific for tech crimes, has the pleasurable job of having to go through all of it, and she finds some terrible footage. And it's not drone footage, though. It appears to be from a camera, like a security camera, inside a woman's bedroom. And we as the audience don't get to see a lot of it. This is not Criminal Minds. We just hear... I don't think we hear anything. I think we just see Athena and...
No, we see Athena's reaction, yeah.
We just see the Athena and Ranson and Stafford's faces as they watch the footage. And then Detective Ranson tells us what they're watching. That Jeffrey is not just a peeping Tom. He's a serial rapist.
And they let him get away.
Of course, Athena has to have the last line of the episode, and she says, "And we let him get away."
Damn. So, from a, I guess, sad but also kind of sweet
Bittersweet.
scene. Yeah, we take the mood right down with the bit of a cliffhanger, I guess.
Yeah.
Leading into the finale, I'm assuming, because we're only a few episodes away from that, right?
We got the penultimate episode. It leads into the penultimate episode, which leads into the finale. So we've got 2 more to go.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure all this talk about Abby won't come back at all.
No.
This season either.
Oh.
Shush.
Shh. Don't tell me that.
So next week, penultimate episode of season 3, where while the 118 is off doing their fun little emergencies, including rescuing a girl in a runaway hot air balloon and helping with a city power outage caused by a hijacked tree trimmer truck, Athena's investigation into the serial rapist case puts her life in jeopardy.
Oh, jeez.
And the triggers for next week's episode include discussions of cancer, a childhood threat, possible claustrophobia. We have a character getting an MRI. We have a character stuck in an elevator. We have a character stuck in a walk-in freezer with the most on-the-nose needle drop that I think 911 has done to date. There is gun violence. There is a graphic assault and major character injury, police officer threat, sexual violence, rape. I don't know what the suspected cheating is in, and it really just throws off the flow of the triggers, and a train derailment.
Right.
What even is the
going on?
suspected cheating?
I think the suspected cheating's Hen.
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought that next week's episode was this week's episode.
No.
And then when I watched it, I was like, oh, that doesn't happen in this episode, so I'm pretty sure it's Hen.
Yes. So yes, next week's episode is a heavy one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Can't wait. I love it when you say that and I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, it could be anything from, oh, that wasn't so bad, to me hiding behind my couch.
I'm like, I don't think we've ever, I know we joked about, gaslighting you about certain episodes, but I don't think we've ever led you astray when it comes to what to expect in the next episode.
Okay. But this episode was such a great Buck episode. He had some cracking lines.
It's not one of my favourite episodes just because I feel like it's so sad for Buck.
It is it's heartbreaking.
It's so
because he is worried about losing his family. They
really hammer home that, like, Buck is alone. Buck has no one. Buck's entire life is firefighting and he's destined to die, loveless and penniless.
Also remember Abby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But outside of that, he did have, he was...
He was so cute.
It was cute, yeah. It was a cute episode.
Yeah. But again, it was, once again, I don't know if this was from the last episode that I said this, but you can sort of see the threads they're starting to pull the threads to develop sort of future storylines.
Yeah, they did a similar thing with season 2, right? The last couple 3 or 4 episodes flowed into each other. They kept
they just sort of bring up random shit and like why we suddenly got this storyline, and as you watch the next couple of episodes, like, oh, that's why we get that storyline.
Yeah,
that's why that thing happened, because it leads into this, which then leads into that. It wasn't a very big episode. It was mostly a feels episode. I mean, you could almost say that it was kind of it's not quite a filler episode, but...
It's kind of a bridging episode.
Yeah.
Because a lot's going to come back in a big way.
Yes.
Right, okay.
There's not a lot of substance to it as an episode, but it is important in the grand scheme of things.
Okay.
But yes. I don't have anything else to say about it. Although I do want to note that I don't think that the oopsie with the promo was because they filmed it with a blind woman and then suddenly changed it. I think that whoever wrote the promo just remembered that the woman was disabled and went like 50-50 as to which disability she had. And then didn't double check
a little bit yikes
before they sent it out.
I mean, I can't... Like, I can imagine that it would have been... No, it wouldn't have... I was going to say it would be a similar kind of rescue if she had been blind, but it wouldn't have been because...
There wouldn't have been the whole, the typing thing with Maddie.
Yeah, it would have... She could have called 911. It would have been... Yeah, I don't...
Yeah, so
I think they just must have got it wrong.
Yeah, so this is not a promo that is wrong because they wrote the promo before they edited the episode. This is just somebody fucked up when they were writing the promo.
Yeah.
Yeah. The episode was always going to be like this, just the promo is wrong. And now I'm done. Now I have no more thoughts about this episode. Now I'm ready to move on to the next episode.
Yeah. Well, now it's the time. We've only got a couple of episodes to go in this season, so send us your feedback, preferably by email or a DM if possible. Just it's easier for us to keep track of it then. Or you can let us know what you thought about this episode in particular on Spotify or on social media. Or you can go to thatweewoo.show.com and leave a comment on our post there. Thanks everyone for listening this week, and we will talk to you next time about episode 17, which is called Powerless. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
911 is a fictional show, but many of the situations portrayed happen in the real world too. If any of the topics we've discussed in this episode have affected you, please know you're not alone. You can call or text numbers in your country for help. Just Google crisis support in your location to find out the number. If you enjoy our podcast, you can help us out by leaving us a review on Spotify or your preferred listening app, and by sharing our social media posts. Find out more at thatweewooshow.com.
Is this where she's pinching the guy's heart
Yes.
or whatever?
So the nitrous canister explodes. He gets shrapnel through the heart. It severs his aorta. Hen decides that the best course of action is to literally stick her hand inside his chest cavity and pinch his aorta to stop him bleeding out before they get him to the hospital.
Wow, this is going to be the fastest episode ever. We're just like hitting those plot points.
Yep. So yes, Buck goes to a bar.
What is that noise?
Ma'am, what is that?
Gingerbread.
Oh
It's a
my-
packet of gingerbread.
I've got like inadvertent Dude!
I'm going to like be cutting like all of your track out except for the bits where you're talking.
And if you keep it up, she'll even cut the bits when you're talking too.
I'll be like, this is too much effort now.
It'll just be you
me.
talking and then some random gaps and then you laughing and keep going. Everyone's
Yep.
like, did Alice's track not work this week? Ellen's like, no, I just didn't want to include her.
It's like that, really petty
She was
thing.
eating on Maine.
It's like really petty when, somebody starts talking, just like, do you hear something? Is someone talking? I don't hear anybody
Sometimes I
talking,
can still
do you?
hear her voice.
I was about to say the same thing, Ellen. She's not dead. She just opened gingerbread over the microphone.
All right. Well,
Anyway. Yes,
Buck goes to the bar.